Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our domestic violence conference that's virtual and free called Unite in Light. We are so excited that you are here tonight with us. Tonight, April Tribe Juke, along with Shareene K. Rice. Now, Shareene is an amazing woman, and I'm going to give her time to share all about herself and all of the amazing things that she's been doing. But first of all, because this is October the 1st, which kind of is that signal and start to our Domestic Violence Awareness Month, given an entire month to make sure that we help people be aware about the challenges of domestic violence and abuse, any kind of abuse. I have experienced verbal and emotional abuse that was just as terrifying and shattering as the physical abuse has been. And so I don't want you to think, oh, that's only for this particular section of pain or of abuse. This is for anyone that if their spouse, partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, anything is in you properly, this is here for you. Also for advocates, also for supporters, for anyone that is needing any kind of information. This whole conference over the next 6 days, different days throughout the month, because I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity and time to tune in. So with tonight being our first night of the Domestic Violence Awareness Conference of Unite in Light, we want to welcome everybody here this evening. It looks like we have a few people joining us. Thank you, Terry Wood, for snagging and inviting Jeanette Brewer. And thank you, Sandra, for coming here. Hello to you. Sandra comes all the way from the East Coast. I want to say Delaware. That's probably wrong. Probably Connecticut. It's probably something else. So I apologize, Sandra, but thank you so much for showing up here with us this evening. And Terry, who's your state? Bring them on in. And let's go ahead and kind of get things rolling here. And we're so excited and grateful for everyone coming. So Shareene Rice, she has been involved with so many different, I would say, facets and aspects of domestic violence that I would love for her to kind of share a little bit about herself using her own words and us being there for her as that support. As she finishes through that, we're going to jump into the hot topic of tonight, which is red flag conversations, red flag warnings, anything to do with a red flag that might give you that signal of it's time to get out of here before anything else happens. So this is our evening and welcoming for our first night in event. We are so happy that she is here tonight. So Shareene, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so to tell you about myself, I am the founder and CEO of S.A.V.V.E, S.A.V.V.E, Saving Abuse and Violence Victims Through Education. We hold a conference every year, and we'll be holding our conference on the 16th and 17th of October in Ivins, Utah at Tuacahn, if anyone's familiar with that. I write books on domestic violence. I blog on domestic violence. I facilitate for other DV groups. What else do I do? I have my own radio show, online radio show. I'm working on my dissertation. I'm finishing that up. It's also on healing and empowerment for female domestic violence survivors, actually. And to pinpoint that a little bit more, it's through social media groups where women find therapeutic social media groups for domestic violence specifically, and how they have obtained healing empowerment through those groups. Let me see. I'm very, very busy because of all this. I advocate for domestic violence victims. I go to court with them if they ask me to. Just about anything you can do, I try to do it.
That's amazing. Your skills, gifts, talents have really been amplified by something that's really challenging and negative. And were you surprised at what you've experienced? Things that I'm sure you'll share throughout the evening. Mm-hmm. And in those experiences, finding where your light and where your strengths and your skills and your talents are. Isn't that an interesting thing that Heavenly Father gives us these things, and through experience, through trials, through pain, through grief, through sometimes really unbelievable things that are happening, there is still positivity that can shine through. I mean, now you listed all of the things that you do now to help other people. And I'm sure growing up, you don't necessarily have that conscious thought of, I'm going to be an amazing advocate one day. Yeah, I'm going to just rock it. It's just a different thing. And so the joy and I would say the comfort that you can give and offer to people is amazing. So thank you so much, Shareene, to not shrink away, but to stand up loud and proud, be there as that supporter, as that advocate, doing the things that are necessary to keep this awareness out there. So share a little bit about your domestic violence conference that you're going to be holding on the 16th and 17th of October. Share with us a little bit about that.
It's all day. It's free. You can come. I will also be recording. I have a film crew coming in so that I can put it on. I do have a YouTube site that I actually have nothing on at this time because I'm still learning how to put on YouTubes. Let me see. I have people coming from, one dear friend that always opens my conference, or has for the past 3 years, usually comes from Texas, but she's in San Diego right now, so she's going to be coming up. I have people coming down from Salt Lake to speak. I have people coming down from Provo to speak. I'm hoping that Kit Gurrell will be speaking. She and I talked several times. She's in the East Coast, South Carolina, I believe it is. And she's the author or participant in Private Violence. That's a flick that's out on domestic violence. And let me see. I have a lawyer speaking. He's speaking both days on Friday and on Saturday. I have my president is speaking. She's going to be talking about what helped her in court. And another woman that's coming down from Provo will also talk about what helped her in court. We need to get the legal and the justice system paired up with domestic violence. There's actually quite a division. And so it wasn't intentional, but it seems to be how things are working out right now in the conference. And, only the Lord is in control of that. So I don't control that.
I like how you leave it up into the hands. What great faith to try in that effort, because it feels like a theme is being built. It looks like the justice system is one of these big focuses. And for tonight, with the red flag conversations, red flag signs that happen, can you start to share with us some of those things that you see and what happens when we ignore them? First of all, just share with us, what are some of the signs? If you can give maybe the top 5 really specifically, or there's probably more than that, but something where our audience can digest it tonight to see, hey, I might see that behavior, or my friend or my daughter is dating someone. Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering about that. So kind of think in those aspects about what we can share tonight with our audience.
Okay, it's actually not that easy to just say, hey, because I am a behavioral specialist. I'm really good at that. I'm an educator by trade and a principal at this time. And behavior, I love it. But the thing is you have to put it in perspective. And the perspective is the person trying to have power and control over another person based on anything that they're doing, or is that person trying to take back their power? Now, I will say sometimes tactics are used, the same ones are used by both parties. You have to understand who's doing what and try to figure that out before you say, oh, that one's an abuser, or I'm the victim, or he's the victim and she's the abuser. It's very difficult to make that just based on a tactic or a red flag. So I will share some red flags, but keep that in mind. That's the thing that you need to keep in to understand, to know what you're looking for. So when it comes to red flags, I'm going to tell you what the first one is that I always talk about. And aren't we lucky? I just talked about this to a group of young teens last week. And a lot of you are going to say, oh my gosh, I do that. That can't be a red flag. So it is. I call it gossip. And let me tell you why. Because if someone that's an abuser and they start talking about someone, guaranteed unequivocally, they're going to be talking about you next. So you want to avoid people who are talking about someone, especially their last victim, but you don't know that yet. So I just say, just stop all gossip. And that is the first thing to eliminate you from that list. And
what a powerful thing, because gossip happens continuously.
Right.
And I'm sure, the length and the degree and probably some of that passive aggressiveness that's coming out with it. I mean, there are bad day gossip days, right? Where we've just had it.
But that's,
and I think if you're watching the pattern, right? If you're watching wow, this is a pattern that's building. I agree with you on that. And it looks like people are jumping on here saying this is such a vital and important topic. And Cecilia, she's all the way from Canada, showing up here live with us tonight. So thank you so much. This is great. A lot of people are sharing and saying hello. So this is fantastic. That first step, gossip, and especially if we start seeing that continuous pattern, really, really important. That's kind of eye-opening. Are you guys awake on that? I am. I'm like, whoa,
and let me tell you why.
Right there.
Because abusers do what's called smear campaigning, and they gossip while they're smearing you, and they create an environment around them, and you'll never know it's happening until everything's over, pretty much. But they'll start a smear campaign almost upon you committing to them. And so they're not abusing you directly, they're abusing you indirectly through gossip, of course. And so that's why they do it. They have to make you feel sorry for them. They love the fact that women are nurturers, and we feel bad for them and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she treated you like that. That's my favorite, because I did that. That's why that's my favorite. And I'm like, oh, not all women are like that. Let me just show you that we're wonderful. And what I didn't know was, he was the one that was abusing her. And that's why her behavior was somewhat like that. But I did see someone said something about venting versus gossiping. What is the difference? Number one, if someone vents to me, I will never share that with anyone. Once I share that, now I'm gossiping. Once I've shared that with anyone, now I'm gossiping. It comes in, it goes out. I'm like, what can I do to help you? I'm sorry you're going through this. That sounds horrible. What can I do? So you want to show empathy, but don't take it in, of course. But as soon as you share that, you're gossiping. I'm sorry. Venting is I go to someone and I just say, oh my gosh, I got to get this off my chest, and I share it and it's over with. And I have to vent once in a while. I just do.
That's so true. That's so true. We all need to vent once in a while. And so these looks like people are right here, right on top of it. These red flags are really important to hear. So venting is different than gossiping. That gossiping starts to spread and the pattern continuously happens. So what is a second piece to some of these red flags?
Well, do you want me to go through more red flags? I have like pages and pages of them.
Yes, but give us the top 5, so to speak. I mean, because that gossip one, we all relate to, and we're like, oh boy. I'm sure I'm checking too. I'm like, ooh, okay, I could improve on that. Right.
Another big one is lies, and it'll be very, very difficult to identify the lies until pretty much it's over. It's hard to identify that. Again, one that's really powerful but won't be used on you until they know they have complete power and control over you is threats. They love that. Shaming, blaming, both of those are huge. Minimizing what you do, maximizing.
Can you repeat that?
Which one?
Can you repeat that again? We had a glitch
sorry.
So we've talked about the gossip and venting. Well, gossip, not venting. And then you mentioned the next piece
is lies.
the lies, but they're really challenging to know until kind of towards the end. Now, what was the third piece where I missed that part?
Threats. Now that one won't
Threats.
occur until you have strongly been indoctrinated by their conditioned, groomed, whatever you'd like to call it, by them. They won't use that until they know they totally got you. But on top of that, shaming and blaming are both huge. Ridicule, again, huge. But people won't stay with people that ridicule. Another one where we do stay is they'll maximize how great they are, minimize how, minimize you, or they'll maximize all your faults, minimize all their faults. Recognize that. That's kind of an easy one. You're like, so I have to change my clothes because you don't like them, but you're not going to change your clothes if I don't like them. I mean, what we got a problem here. And then they start telling you how bad you look in those clothes, and it's something we would never say ever. And but anyway, there are 5 things that they like to use. These are top 5. One is and when I was studying domestic violence 6 years ago, when I started, believe it or not, 6 years ago, I didn't even know this community existed. And I started my PhD right after that and started studying day and night on everything I could find, because I wanted to figure out, what did I miss? How did I not see all of this? So the first thing that was brought to my attention was that they will use, can I say a cuss word?
Go ahead.
They will call you bitch. They will let's see, and they may add to adjectives to that mine did add adjectives to bitch. And then they will also talk about your weight, talk negatively, of course. They will talk about your sexuality negatively. They will talk about your and this is to you, they're diminishing you, they're bringing you down to size. They will talk about your looks. You don't put on enough makeup, you put on too much makeup, all of that. And be really, really cruel. And they know how to do it. And the problem with us is we adore them because we fell in love with someone else. And this is how I explain it to people is we fell in love with Mr. A. Mr. A is perfect. He is the man of our dreams. He's the person we've been looking for our whole life. He is kind, caring, considerate. He serves in the church. He's amazing. And then slowly we have person B. Person B is very mean and the abuser. And he slowly moves in because this was just a facade. So we're in love with the facade. And slowly the abuser moves in. And once he starts abusing, he won't walk up to you and just start hitting you because you'd leave, right? He'll just say little things. And then he'll love to say, I'm just joking after that. Or are you serious? Don't take me serious. Why do you do that? And then again, that's another form of ridicule, right? So understand that women are madly in love with the man that they're in love with, and they have to go through a grieving process after it's over when they realize, I didn't marry this man, I married this man, and this man somehow left, and this man somehow showed up. I don't even know that man. I would sit there. Okay, so my ex-husband I knew for 38 years before I married him. He was never cruel to me, never unkind to me. Just very matter of fact. And I knew him since I was 15. We dated off and on through life. And then we married. And within a year, he was so horrible. He beat me up on the way out. And it was something I would never, ever, ever fathom him doing to me ever. His dad is an abuser.
So I don't mean to hold you off right there, but all these people, we're taking notes. This is amazing. We've got Terry. I mean, he is putting it down. He's writing it in there. He's putting it there. He's going to be delivering books. He just asked for 32 books to go out to shelters in Indiana. I mean, wow, he looks like he's learning, he's getting ready. He's understanding all of these things. And look at all the people here that heard, I'm joking. Yes, I'm joking. Oh my gosh, so true. All of these people are agreeing with you, and they probably have had some experience in the past with this, and they understand. Yes, yes, yes. So it looks like you are really ringing bells here with all of us, Shareene. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what I'm saying is you're a great teacher, and they're taking notes. And so well done.
All my students are taking notes too. They go like, don't stop, don't stop. Actually, I spent like 2 or 3 hours talking about different aspects of this. And they were just like, don't stop, just keep going. We need this information. And it is good information. I wish I had it. Other things that they might do is, of course, I said criticism, threatening, yelling, raising voice. You'll feel like you're walking on eggshells, so he doesn't get mad or upset. You're afraid. He puts you down or embarrasses you in public. That's a big one sometimes. When you get home, you know you're getting it if he gives you the look. And the problem with it is when we're out in public, we don't know how to respond to the abuse, and it may not appear to even be abuse to someone else. And in fact, it may look like, why is she getting so upset over that? Because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. That's why. And, we react. And sometimes we react. Victims always react to abuse. We just do it. And I'm not sure why we do it, but I still do it. From time to time, I catch myself doing it when I see someone abusing me. And then I call them on it, and they don't like me anymore. And it's okay, because I don't want them to. So let me see, where was I? It was eggshells is horrible. Being embarrassed in public is horrible. And you just don't know what to do, really. You will react to their abuse, and you may react in the same way that they abuse you. That doesn't make you an abuser. What that makes you is a victim, and you're trying to use abuse tactics to respond. What it will do is it will backfire. Take it from the expert. It will just backfire on you. So you have to kill them with kindness, really. Either, if they're a narcissist, I would totally ignore it. If they're sociopath, I wouldn't ignore it, because they'll make your life a living heck. But other things that they may do is they'll isolate you from your friends and family, control you, control your money. They won't allow you to make your own decisions. And just so you know, you're a pet. You are not a person. You are a pet. And nothing you say matters. It just doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, it's his decision. Like, I love movies, and so I would like to go to them. And so he would say, you better pick one where there's explosions or someone dying in the first 5 minutes, or we're walking out of here. And so that's how controlling he was, and I would allow it. It was horrible. So anyway, living with him was very, very difficult. And he was very, very serving of the community. Everyone loved him. Just so you know, everybody loves these guys. They're very charismatic. They're usually very active in their church. He was not even religious, which was fine with me because I've known him so long. But they'll raise their voice, or they'll, if you have kids with them, sometimes they'll turn on the kids to hurt you. They won't hurt you personally. They'll turn on the children. And that's when you really need to start thinking about moving out. Physical abuse is actually not the worst. Of course, it's the psychological abuse that they do. He will say he loves you, but the unfortunate part is he's unable to love anybody. So physical and sexual abuse isn't even considered partially as bad as psychological abuse, because that's where the PTSD, the anxiety, the depression usually comes in, is from that. The suicidal ideation. And just so you know, victims of abuse think of homicide. They have homicidal and suicidal thoughts, because how do you get out of it? And how do you protect your children after? And how do you protect others after? I mean, I know the first thing that went through my mind is, I don't think I have a choice. I think I have to kill this guy, because if I don't, he's going to hurt someone else when he's done with me. And I already knew his first two wives. His first wife was actually a good friend of mine in high school. And then I went and met his second wife and talked to her and found out what a lot of the truths were, because, of course, his mouth was moving. So therefore, I know he was lying. But one thing abusers will do is they'll throw you under the bus. One thing a victim will do is throw themselves in front of the bus. You always want to save them. And I don't know why that is. But after I got very badly beat up, I had 2 black eyes. And what I did, the first thing I did was put on makeup, because I wanted to protect him. And that's what we do. We protect our abuser. We're groomed and conditioned to protect our abuser. And so we do. We do everything that we think we need to do. Just to give you a little bit of insight, one time I said, hey, I'm doing some homework. Can you do the dishes? So he walked into the kitchen and started throwing them on the floor and breaking them. I mean, that's a good way to get them done, I guess, right? But it wasn't what I had in mind. Buying new dishes was not what I had in mind at all.
Right. So this whole concept, it looks like, again, people are just connecting. I want to just throw some of these comments up here because they're awesome. Public shaming, the look, victims often react to their abuse. Yes. The best way to drive a narcissist is to ignore them. You either love them, love me. Like this one's powerful. I often felt like I was enslaved.
Yeah. And you are enslaved. You're a pet.
You are.
You are of no value. You're a pet, and you're enslaved.
This is so interesting. I feel like you disagree with him, then you don't love me. They flip it so quickly, and
they do.
And this controlling piece, and then turning on the children. And I know within my own experience, we do protect. And for my own self, I protected because I was embarrassed. I thought, I'm an intellectual, smart person. What am I doing? This was not who I married. Slowly over time, the beast came out and all of those things. And even as the children were suffering through it, and I'm trying to now protect, it became just an hour by hour survival until I think this part really hasn't been mentioned yet, but they're great at isolating us, right? And so in our isolation, who are we going to turn to? And so those thoughts of, well, we're going to have to escape or get rid of them or warn the world, like, what are we going to do? And in my isolation, that was definitely when I was in the lowest part. And in my book, I call it the abyss of the abuse. There was no hope. There was no light. I couldn't see a way out, nothing. I'm like, I guess this is it. This is what happens. Right. And with my 5 children that I had with him, my first 3 boys have autism. And so as their outbursts and behaviors and things happened, just as sensory needs weren't being met all the way, my eggshell moments were so intense because if one went off, I knew all were going to get it. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. And so that triggering feeling of who and how, and the conditioning that I fell into was create the bubbles, create the safety, peace at all cost. I didn't care. I remember going weeks without showering, weeks without eating. We just keep one step ahead as much as possible. And it was so exhausting. And I just didn't know what else to do. And that's the way that things had to happen. So in the concept of it, we're up now. It's all working now. Oh, so anyway, the point is that when we were going through all of these challenges, the isolation was also compounding it. I didn't have a network. I didn't have supports. I didn't have anyone until one tiny piece of hope. And it actually came through a phone call, which had nothing to do with domestic violence, but it had everything to do with what saved us. I was asked to be part of a committee on a board for a school that was just being started, and the school's focus was about autism. Talk about my ticket. That was my ticket out. And I didn't realize it even at the time, but subconsciously, I feel like Heavenly Father was like, okay, now we're going to be able to start showing these lights, because I was then at my point where I was ready to start making some type of a plan. I had seen, felt, and experienced enough red flags that I was ready. So I didn't mean to completely interrupt you, but wow, these people are just coming, sharing so much, and all of these things are just fantastic. Look at what Kathy has to say here. She says, I would love to know the behavior behind protecting. And that's a really powerful question.
It's because we're nurturers and because they've conditioned us. The first thing they do, in fact, I teach my own six-fold phase method. And I always say, because I'm a PhD student, I can make up these things. But it is a little more than that. The first thing they do is they will, I call it the trap, is they will wine you and dine you and teach you, just suck you in because we're nurturers. Poor me, look at me. I had to go through this experience. It was a horrible one. It's not my fault. Look what she did to me. So as nurturers, we get pulled in. And then the con is they try to get you to commit. Now, keep in mind also, commit is different for everyone. It could be marrying. It could be living with them. It's when they get the conditioning really going. And look at Ray Rice. And remember his girlfriend fell out of the elevator unconscious and she still married him, right? You would think, no, but that's not what happened. She was already conditioned and conned into staying with him basically through grooming and through conditioning. Then the next phase that will happen immediately after they know that you are committed to them, because women, we grow up with babies in our arms, right? We learn how to be mothers. We learn how to be wives. We practice all of that. They grow up with a football in their hands. There's a difference. So they don't look at life the way we have built our life. So we're completely different, and we're very emotional and very nurturing. It's just part of us. Anyway, so the third phase is they will immediately begin to practice abuse at that time, not during the trap and not during the con. As soon as they got you, as soon as they know that they have clinched phase 2, they will immediately do phase 4. Now, on top of that, and this is what causes the crazy making, I call it the red rose phase. It's, baby, you're beautiful. I'm sorry I hate you. I really didn't mean to. It was just something that happened. Or, I'm just joking. Yeah, again, that's another red rose. Let's go to a movie because you so deserve it. Anything that's really kind. So our head is going, okay, is he a horrible person? Or is he, this is the wonderful person that I married. This is cool. He's back. He was just having a bad day. He was just having a bad moment. We rationalize. Because, why? Because we're nurturers. Okay, so this will go back and forth between phase 3 and phase 4 on several occasions until you're really kind of fed up. And you're like, okay, now I'm mad. Then he'll go on a honeymoon. The honeymoon will not last more than 60 days. Honeymoons don't. They just can't do it. Because they're abusers, right? They're raised to be abusers. And so they cannot last more than 60 days.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
You said something very powerful. They're raised to be abusers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you guys tune in next week on the 7th of October, our next speaker is going to be talking about prevention and about raising boys to become men who will stand against violence. What we've learned in the prevention side of this, domestic abuse, domestic violence, any of it, it's not a women's problem.
Right.
It's a man's problem. And we need male leaders to stand. And in, Terry, you can probably, because you're a guy out there, so you can probably, I would say, relate to this, is that male leaders have immense power and understanding, and our desire to belong to a group, makes that want to connect. So there are poor leaders, terrible leaders that will, lead us into awful things. And I'll just give examples like gangs and so on and so forth. But there's still leadership, and so we will follow. So think about positive leadership that create amazing things. There's, sports teams that have really good positive outcomes, and their focus and goal is really to raise amazing athletes, boys, youth, to become the men that they want to see, right? Now, it's never in a perfection type of thing, but this concept and idea, and if we can get more male leadership, and yes, I use the word male leadership, to help raise our boys, then what you just said, they were raised to be abusers, becomes less and less and less. And that's the prevention. And so tune in next week for that. It's going to be incredible. So thank you so much for saying those things. I want to just pull up a few more comments because look at this. I'm resonating so much with what she is teaching. Yes, male leaders must stand against abuse. I will say in my marriage, I was the abuser. In fact, the relationship, it was the guy. I mean, amazing to see all of these things that are coming out. What you just stated, the honeymoon will not last more than 60 days, raised to be abusers. I mean, phenomenal things. People are jumping all over the place here. Red rose face, flattery, compliments. Look, they're listening. They are listening. And, you know, this drive to lead, usually sports, conquest, conquering scenarios, these kinds of things. But if it's done in a positive way, wow, what big change can happen. So we're covering a lot of information here, and this is amazing. So we've talked about some red flags. We're talking about this power and control right now. The third piece, which you'll see that's sliding around here on the bottom here, is to trust your gut. So Shareene, tell us about that concept about trusting your gut.
The best book I ever read on this, and I wish I learned it as a teen, is called The Gift of Fear. And you will have a gut feeling. It was really crazy because I would go out to dinner with him and his son and his wife, and we'd be having a really nice time, and I would just start crying. And the reason why is because we all have spirits, right? And our spirits knows a bad spirit. And and your spirit will tell you that's a bad spirit. And I had no idea that when sometimes I just start shaking when I was around him or crying, and he just thought I was a total basket case. So did I, actually. I thought, man, I'm going crazy. What's going on here? And so I didn't really, it wasn't me. If you know me, I'm like cracking jokes all the time. I love life. I love everything. You know, I don't ever have a problem. I'm not usually crying and upset, but when you are, that's the anxiety, of course, right? And the PTSD usually comes with usually the physical abuse. The anxiety usually comes with the psychological abuse. So does the depression. Might I add, men aren't the only abusers. Women are abusers, of course, but women are psychological abusers, typically. Men are typically psychological and physical is usually escalated. They will not just walk up and hit you. They will groom you before that ever happens. But one thing I'd like to add before, as we continue on, is the last phase, the sixth phase, is what's called the discard phase. If you have not already started to prepare for safety and leave, they will discard you. And it's the most inhumane time period because they now have completely avoided you out in their life. And you are just nothing more than you're a pet, and they need to get rid of you because now you're a liability. And so that is the most dangerous time period. If you see anything like that coming, your gut trust it, because I wish I learned that like I said, when I was a teen. So I have two methods, actually I have three methods, but one is my gut feeling and I just wrenching. Also, I listen to kind of my spirit and how it feels, but also sometimes things doesn't add up. And I'm like, okay, so something's just not right here, but I don't know what it is. That means run when that happens. Do not stay around to find out why. And the gut feeling as well. Listen to it. Do not stand around or anything. Don't stay and find out why. I never tell anyone to leave an abusive situation because we all know that 72% of all deaths occur upon trying to leave or after they've left. So I say prepare for safety. And that does entail a whole lot. You probably have someone talking about that, April, next week.
I do. I have someone on the 26th of October talking about exit plans and all
Good.
of these kinds of things that we can do to prepare for safety. So, like I said, this is why I had Shareene come up first. We've got ourselves an expert here to really set the stage for so many things that are coming up, through the entire month. And so I hope everyone continues to come forward here. So we have our 6th phase of discard. We're now trusting our gut. If you feel these flags happening, if you feel something's not adding up, go, go, go. And we had a little bit of a breakup. Can you share the statistics again about if somebody leaves, why it's the most dangerous time? Can you share that again?
Well, the statistics are that 74% of all abuse, or I'm sorry, of all deaths that occur are occurring during that time period. Why does it happen? It's because they're losing control of you. Even though they've discarded you, they still have lost control of you and they don't like it. So to have more control of you, they become a little bit more physical, and death occurs. And they're okay with that, unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. And in the experience of our situation, we had an episode which I termed in the book That Night. And through our 9.5 years of marriage, the events that happened, it was like, oh, I know, I'll just save them all up and put them all together in one night and do everything from strangulations, guns, knives, everything happened in one night. And the next morning when we made it through, it was this concept of a hurricane, right? As the first phase of the hurricane comes through and you don't think you're going to make it, suddenly the eye comes across. Blue sky. It's okay. It's this pause before the second half comes in.
Yeah.
And I knew when the second half was coming, we had been spared by 1/8 of an inch. I knew I wasn't going to get that lucky again. And when we had about 8 minutes to get out of there, that's we knew the back end was coming, and I didn't want to be the news story
Right.
at 10 o'clock that I don't really get to listen to because I'm unfortunately somewhere else. And so I thought, that's it. And again, it looks like we've got people resonating here. We've got Sophie saying, yes, wait, this is amazing stuff. We have people literally listening. I love this. Prepare for safety. And we don't usually listen when things aren't adding up. Like, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's so many things to know, to wait, to see. And I love your term of preparing for safety, because it's put into places where really, when we have that supporter and that network together, our preparation for safety can actually become successful, which it was for us. I know that if that hurricane, so to speak, had come in and I hadn't done the preparations for our safety, connected with a network, we wouldn't have made it out.
Right.
So it's incredible and very, very scary at the same time.
And it helps reduce anxiety, I think, because of the fact that when you're saying you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave, why would you stay in that situation? It causes a lot of anxiety. Someone who's already feeling a ton of anxiety, and they're like, I know, but how am I going to get away from this guy? But what they really need is they need someone to say, okay, so this is what you need. You need a bank account without your name on it, without his name on it, and he doesn't know anything about it. You need to start saving money in that bank account. You need to get another phone that he doesn't know anything about. You need to start taking clothes over to a friend's house, money over to a friend's house. You need to make sure that the car is in your name so he doesn't say you stole it. You need to find out about your insurance. How is that going to help when you leave? Or is it going to be cut off? Can you handle that? Do you have a job? Do you have training? Do you have, you need to think of all of these things. That doesn't mean you have to have them all done before you leave. You definitely should have a different bank account. You should definitely have a phone that he doesn't know anything about, and you should have a little bit of money saved if possible. You should also have some clothes at a friend's house. I mean, most of us women, we have so many clothes, he'd never know what was missing anyway. Same with the kids. If you have kids, also take some stuff over there. Don't tell them anything. And the reason why is because for some reason, and I haven't figured out what it is kids feel a duty to an abuser. It's because they're conditioned and they're groomed as well, right? But you just say, I'm sure we've all seen the burning bed. You say, get in the car. We need to go. Something's come up and I need to take care of that. And you don't tell them where you're going. And they're upset because, oh, we're leaving daddy, you know, but they don't know what's really going on. They may never know what's going on. I'm just going to say that. They may never know. And a lot of times the abuser is able to turn the kids against the parent, even when the kids know what that parent has done to that woman, and that's done it to themselves as well.
It's really a challenging time. It's absolutely right. So in all of these red flags and all of these things that we've talked about tonight, can we leave with a little bit of hope? Can we leave with a little bit?
Yeah, you can actually recover. Actually, I won't say you can completely recover. PTSD, I think, minimizes with time. You have to actually work at it. I teach healing and empowerment, of course, because that's what my dissertation is on. But I usually use the Lord in there because Jesus Christ is the complete, he's the main healer of life, right? And I found for myself, even though I have all these best friends that would have just dropped everything and came and got me in a second, I trusted no one. I didn't tell any of my family what was happening. I didn't tell. I was too embarrassed. I was too shameful. I hurt too badly. I didn't want to tell anyone. So I said, Heavenly Father, it's me and you, and it's only me and you, and we need to talk about this because I don't know what to do. And he didn't leave me.
Right. Sophie says amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, there was many times where I had that good conversation with my Heavenly Father, and in building our network to help leave, to find the bank accounts, to get that job, all of those things, I kind of had, like, I could share these 3 things, and that's all the other person needed to know, because all of this was just between he and I, and that was okay. Because with what I could present with my kind of 3 ideas or 3 topics or 3 things I was willing to share, I think they felt something that was like, I don't need to know anymore. I'm not going to be, she needs a supporter. And this is where that concept of the ultimate supporter comes in. They act like a first responder. As a first responder comes into an emergency, then the first thing they don't, when they show up, that, well, who started this fire? Well, why are you sick? What did you do? No, they're right there to help. And they've had training very specifically. They see blood. We're going to wrap that up. We're not going to ask all the, that's the detective's job. That's the other, we're going to come in. We're going to do this part. And so for those people that want to be supporters, if you have a nephew, a niece, a daughter, a sister, a brother, an uncle, an aunt, anyone that you know that might be in an abuse situation, elderly, youth, any and all, it doesn't matter. The point is if you are going to be committed to become that supporter, there are several things that must be, put into place. And this concept about that first responder is huge. Mm-hmm. And it's also along with the idea of a boundary. Now, this boundary is not conditional, meaning, well, they said they were going to leave and they went back. They said they were going to leave, they went back. Well, that's the 3rd time. Strikes, they're out. Nope, not going to help anymore. No. Has nothing to do with you.
Right.
It has everything to do with them, because we don't know what they were last threatened with.
No.
We have no idea. And so if they pull out at the last minute, you go, I'll be here for the next time. Because it's not about us. It's about helping them. And that's the ultimate supporter. And so it's that whole concept of doing these things in ways that really need some support and training. And that's what I'm hoping that this domestic violence conference, Uniting in Light, will really help with. And so, Shareene, thank you so much for sharing amazing things. There's been so many great comments up here. A lot of people can relate. Sophie says, God is why I'm alive today. Trust his grace, his mercy.
His mercy, right?
I mean, amazing. This is in a whole process. And so I hope that everyone continues to join with us. Let's give, thanks so much for Shareene and so many people who have participated. I'm going to put up here on some links down below all of the things that S.A.V.V.E, S-A.V.V.E, the organization that Shareene has put together, along with her conference information and anything else that you guys might need. I'll also post the supporters toolkit which I have out there, and it's at a reduced price for everyone, since it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, because the training that you find in there is amazing. And, you know, $27 is, you know, definitely worth a life, right? If we can be that support, and it's something where you are that connection and reach that helps to connect them to the professional advocates, to the other types of, you know, shelters and supports and hotlines. But the isolation piece that happens in abuse really needs to be addressed. And as you are a committed supporter, you don't need to know the full story. You just need to be there when the call comes. And that's that job. We love that so many people are thanking you.
You are welcome.
Thanking you. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you, everybody, tonight. This has been phenomenal. And again, we'll put all of those links down here below. Your participation has been wonderful. So tune in next week. We'll be on October the 7th. We will have different events throughout the entire month, but our next full speaker is at October the 7th, which will be, I think, another Thursday or Wednesday. Now I can't remember, but it is October the 7th. Again, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And thank you, everybody, for coming and supporting.
Thank you.
You guys all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you.